How do other family businesses transition into a third and potentially fourth generation? Well, today we catch back up with Ted Jacoby from TC Jacoby to hear how he and his family have done just that with the St. Louis-based dairy marketing company that serves customers in the U.S. and around the world. You can go back to a previous episode to hear about Ted's insights into dairy markets, but in this episode, we are talking about leadership, business, communication, and culture. This is where you can find more than just market insights, but insights for any family business, right here today on the Up-Level Dairy Podcast. This is the podcast for dairy farm owners, managers, and advisors who are committed to profitability, sustainability, and excellence. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and it's my mission to bring you the conversations that will up-level your skill set and your mindset, so you can be a top performer in the dairy farming business. This episode is brought to you by High Ground Dairy. High Ground Dairy provides global dairy market intelligence, insurance services, futures and options brokerage, and advisory programs to a diverse range of dairy market participants throughout the supply chain. Ted, you're a third generation business, a lot like so many of the dairies that are here in the U.S. that have grown and scaled just as you have. Your business has grown and scaled in a reflective way to serve the marketplace. These dairies have grown and scaled to serve your customer and produce a product that they value and that they want more of. Let's just take a moment and look at not just the future of dairy, but really looking at a third generation family business. What does TC Jacoby look like 10 years from now? Is there a fourth generation?
I have two sons. They're both in the dairy industry today. We have a tradition in our family that because we're a trading company, we work out of an office. You're not going to learn about the industry behind a desk. I worked for a cheese company up in Minnesota for a few years before I came to work here. My brother Gus worked in a different cheese company to learn the business. My dad worked for a dairy company before he joined the business in the 60s. I have two sons who work in the dairy industry. They don't work for TC Jacoby Company. They may not come to work for us someday. We haven't crossed that bridge yet, and we won't until the time comes to discuss it. At the very least, I have a feeling that there'll be another generation involved in the dairy industry.
Does that excite you?
I'll say this about the dairy industry. One of the reasons that I love this industry is there are so many family businesses. 99% of all dairy farms, even the large ones, are family businesses, multi-generational family businesses. Co-ops are owned by family business dairy farmers. There are so many cheese companies that are multi-generational family businesses. Even when you get into some of the biggest dairy companies in the world, from Dannon to Saputo to Leprino, those are family businesses. And I think I have a theory. There's a reason why there are so many family businesses in the dairy industry. We're dealing with a product that comes from a biological animal. Every pound of milk is slightly different from every other pound of milk. If you're making cheese, you add bacteria to it, which means every pound of cheese is a little bit different from every other pound of cheese you make. You're dealing with a product that people enjoy and love to consume, but that has variability. So you're constantly dealing with issues that variability creates. These relationships can withstand discussions about this product's out of spec, but tomorrow's product's going to be in spec. Well, those relationships require integrity, they require honesty, they require honest communication. They cannot be just transactional in nature. They have to be more than that. The dairy industry needs those types of relationships to do business because you're selling a product you're going to sell to someone over and over and over again, every day, every week, every year. So there's a lot of reasons why this is a relationship-based business, the dairy industry is, at the farm level, at the processor level, and even at the distribution and consumer level. I have friends and customers that I do business with today whose fathers did business with my father. Don't underestimate how cool it is to have those kinds of relationships. We're fortunate as a trading company to have those kinds of relationships, but there are so many dairy farmers out there. There are so many family businesses in the dairy industry out there that have the same kinds of relationships. And that's what makes this industry special.
It sure does. And I think what you just explained is relatable to every dairy farm that isn't a family scenario. Having gone from your grandfather to your father and now you in leadership for the company. Something else that I know a lot of family businesses are looking at right now too, potentially having a fourth generation come in, but there's some prereqs for that to happen. But it's that interim period. Just curious, do you foresee having a non-family CEO of the company? I mean, your family has always been in leadership here, right?
Great question. And I'm not afraid of answering it. I'll put it this way. This probably goes for almost any business, but it definitely goes for a company like ours. One of the attitudes we have about our business and about the employees who work for our business is there's a responsibility to make sure that every team we have can carry their own weight, add value to the team, and make the team better. If I hire somebody that can't do that, then I'm letting everybody on that team down. I have a responsibility as a leader to hire talented individuals that we train well and that we put in positions to succeed. And if we don't, I'm failing as a leader. I'm starting there to answer your question about leadership, because if whoever follows me isn't capable of being a good leader, we have 50 employees here. I'm going to let every single one of them down. I have a responsibility to 50 people and all of their families to make sure that the leadership of this organization creates a future they can count on. The good news about family businesses is we have the opportunity to train our future leaders from birth, which means hopefully, whether it's one of my children, whether it's one of my brother Gus's children, has the ability to step up and be that future leader. But doesn't have to be. The most important thing is that we create a leadership team that knows how to lead this company successfully. The biggest responsibility of today's leaders of any organization is to train tomorrow's leaders. And if I narrow the choices of future leadership to only people with the last name Jacoby, I'm going to fail everybody in this company. And we can't afford to do that. It may be a Jacoby, but let's create an environment where the person who leads this company tomorrow is the person who is best qualified.
I appreciate that you answered this from the aspect of leadership and through that lens. And I think that resonates strongly. I know a lot of dairy farm families that are growing and scaling, and they are looking at how other family businesses have done this. We got to look outside of dairy to learn how to step outside of ourselves to be not just a successful dairy farm, but a successful family business. What do you believe is the greatest challenge in your personal leadership that you faced in your time of growing up within this company?
We have a really extremely talented and incredible leadership team. It is my biggest pride. When I'm in a room with my leadership team at TC Jacoby Company and I look around the room, I can say, you're better than me at your job than I could ever be at that job. Every single person is better at me at their job than I could ever be at that job. Quite often, I feel like I'm the fool in the room. That is my biggest pride as a leader. We have managed to fill this company with incredible leaders who are all incredibly talented, so much so that I'm the weakest link. That actually means I'm doing my job well. That's the way that I look at it.
Has it always been easy for you, to get to this point?
I would even say in many cases, it's probably easier for me than most leaders because my name's on the door, so I have job security. I don't have to be threatened by the fact that somebody might be better than me. In fact, all family businesses have this ability. If you're a family member in a family business, your biggest security is the fact that you can hire people better than you. And you don't have to worry about losing your job as a result. So go for it. Hire great people. Why not? Because it'll make your company better. Nobody in their 20s has enough confidence in their career to really feel comfortable taking that attitude. But I think I got lucky early enough in my career. I had success building a business unit within TC Jacoby Company, building the cheese business unit within TC Jacoby Company to get to the point where I could feel pretty comfortable just surrounding myself with people who I knew were really good. And then it just grows on you where you're just like, wow, this person's better than me. And it's making this company better. And that reflects really well on the family that runs this business. And reflects really well on the profitability of the business at the end of the day. Once you see it once, you'll do it again, and you'll get to a point where it's really easy to just own it, to say, this is what will make this company better. And so my approach to leadership is actually really simple. First and foremost, make sure you hire talented people. Don't be afraid to hire the best people you possibly can. Step one. Two, make sure everybody you hire knows what success looks like and is trained to be able to achieve that success. They need to have the skills. They don't just need to have the skills to succeed. They have to know what it is. It surprises me how many companies fail to articulate success clearly. If you do your job this way, you will be successful. If at the end of the day you have accomplished this, you are being successful. It sounds easy. It's not, but it sounds easy. Many companies do not do it well. If you've hired really good people, if you've trained them well, if they know what success looks like, and if you have provided them with all of the resources that they require to be successful, your most important job is to get out of their way. For a lot of people who end up being leaders, that's hard. I can tell you it's really hard for me. I'm not a small personality. You should know by now, I'm a talker. Getting out of someone's way is hard for me. And so the two things I'll say is, if you ask me, what are the things that I focus on to make sure we're a successful organization personally? One is I focus on, after I make sure we hire good people, after I make sure that they know what success looks like, they have the resources they need, and they have the skills they need, it's getting out of their way. And that can be really hard. But lastly, I think the other thing, it's human nature for us as human beings to try to communicate in ways that we understand. I use words that I understand when I'm talking to you, but you process differently than I do. Other people process differently than I do. Some people are very detailed thinkers, and they have to build concepts in their own brain based on many, many details. Other people are very generalist in the way that they think of things. They don't actually get into the weeds on the details, but they see the big picture clearly, and they don't need all the details to form a big picture. Imagine two people, one on one extreme, big picture thinker, the other a detailed thinker. This person communicating success to this person, that's not an easy way to communicate, because this person is going to say one thing, and I can almost guarantee you the detailed person is going to have no idea what they're saying because they're not using any details to describe success. We've spent a lot of time, and we're continuing to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to do that, how to communicate it clearly, because it's hard. Everybody needs to be communicated with in different ways.
So for one, I'm silently laughing because I feel like you just described my husband and I.
Peggy, my wife and I are the same exact way, by the way.
That's why they say, like, you marry your weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
I would say I married my math. My husband's a banker. I married my math. So when you talk about two things, you talked about defining what success is and communicating what success is. Two different things. Break that out. How do you define success? This goes into one of the questions that a lot of my listeners know I love to ask people. What does success look like to you? So what does success look like to you?
TC Jacoby Company as an organization, the true value we bring to our customers, and we define both our suppliers and those who we sell to as customers. They're both customers. We're middlemen. We define success as providing our customers with better options than they have without us. Better options because we're really problem solvers in the industry. I think being a middleman, being a broker, being a trader is a very misunderstood role. People think we're just buying product from this person at as low as we possibly can and selling product to this person as high as we possibly can. I can guarantee in the dairy industry where you're doing business with everybody every day, if you're constantly the lowest bid out there, you won't get much product to sell. If you're constantly the highest price out there, you will not sell a lot of product. And so that is, it really misses the point if that's how you're thinking about what a trading company does. If we're not bringing value to the table by having a myriad of options that we can bring our customers, we're not going to be able to give them the best price. Good enough for them to say, Jacoby will sell to you. At the same time, when selling to our customers, if we can't create options and create values in ways where we can give them a competitive price, we're not going to be involved in the transaction very long. And finally, these two guys are both trying to sell for their products as high as they possibly can and buy their products as low as they possibly can. And they're going to get together and they're just going to do business directly if they don't think we provide value. It comes in the form of flexibility. It comes in the form of adaptability. It comes in the form of market information. It comes in the form of helping. Sometimes the value we bring to our customers is really in the information that help them do a better job of strategizing their own business. Business with us just because that information becomes so valuable, because we're talking to everybody. So we have this very unique and broad view of what's going on in the dairy industry. So what does success look like for Jacoby? The income statement is one part of it. And the thing about a trading company is it's really easy to measure success financially because there's not a lot of other things going on in our business. If you compare what we're dealing with inside our business to what goes into running a cheese company. And so the income statement is one tool of measurement. But when our customers love doing business with us because we make their job easy, because we make them look good, because we make their income statements look better, that's what success really looks like for us. Us bringing value to our customers is the real success. And the income statement will if we're taking care of our customers' income statements by providing them with better options, they're going to end up taking care of our income statement in return.
Does success show up with customer retention?
Yes. In fact, if there were two KPIs that I would use to measure success, and I'm very careful with KPIs because you can misrepresent your goals if you get too married to KPIs. But I would say the two things that tell me that we are being successful as an organization is, one, our customer retention. We do business with just about everybody in the dairy industry. Maybe not every single year, but over a 3-year period, we probably 90% of all the significant players in the dairy industry, we either are buying from or selling to. That's one. And then two, our employee retention. People come to work for us and they stay with us for a really long time, which means as a family business, we're taking care of our employees. We are paying them a wage that they appreciate and that they want to continue. They're not looking over the fence to go work for someone else for more money. Or in many cases, they've been offered more money to work for someone else. And they're just like, yeah, it's just not worth it. I'm just too happy here. So if we're creating a work environment where people are proud to work here, want to continue to work for us, and feel like as an organization and as leadership, we're taking care of them, and they feel fulfilled in their career, then we're doing a darn good job. To me, those are the things that define success.
You just defined success on the customer side, on the employee side. But the other piece of the puzzle of success that you touched on earlier was communicating that picture. How are you finding ways to do that successfully? What's working?
We do have regular huddles, meetings, things like that, where we're trying to just make sure we're communicating. So for example, we have what we call it the mosh pit, the weekly group call. We do it all on Microsoft Teams. Everybody in the company gets on. We go through every division in the company, and one person represents the division. What challenges this week? What are your successes this week? What are your shout outs this week? What was a hard thing to do that you had to work hard on to overcome? What was something you were really proud of that you guys accomplished this week? And who do you want to give a shout out to within your group, outside of your group, who really helped you this week? It seems like a little thing, but what you're doing is you're sharing, each division is sharing with everybody in the organization, kind of, this is what this week was like for me, and this is what I'm thankful for. That's important, is you celebrate the little things by being thankful, and then we're small enough that we can do it, I think, in a more meaningful way than big companies. It becomes employee appreciation days and things like that. For us, it's more like, let's just go out and celebrate this really great thing that we did. We're not afraid to celebrate our successes. We're also not afraid to have the difficult conversations we need to have when things aren't going well. I would also say this. One of the things we do with communication-wise is there are tools out there, Myers-Briggs, Predictive Index, DISC, there's a lot of them. Those tools have a use. They can help you understand the differences between different employees. And they can help you work through, if you're having communication issues with people you're working with, where you feel like you're having one of these kinds of moments where you're not on the same page, having those tools prepared to talk through why you're not able to get on the same page is important. Now, if you think about that in intercompany communication, that's step one. But communicating success to the whole organization is about communicating to everybody at once in a big picture kind of way, but also making sure that you feed that definition of success down through the structure of your organization. If all of my direct reports know what success looks like, from my perspective as the CEO, it's important that all of my direct reports don't just know what their success looks like. They know what communicating that success to their direct reports looks like. We're small enough, we're a flat enough organization. I think at most there's only 4 levels between me and every employee. And mostly it's 3 levels. So there's not a lot of layers in our organization. But what that means is through at least 2 levels, it's not just about defining what success looks like for you. It's let's you and I get together and talk about defining what success looks like for your team that reports to you and make sure we're communicating it well. And communication is a 2-way street. I think one of the really important things about leadership is we've all heard the phrase, the sign of good leadership is in the followers, not in the leader. Are you listening to the people on your team? Are they involved in defining success for your team? Communication is going both ways. It's not a one-way street. It's not just me defining it and it going down. It's me communicating things that are feeding down through the organization, and then the communication coming back up through the organization as to what's doable, what's not doable, or what we think is our best opportunities, and should we go after those. If you're creating an organization where no one is afraid to have an opinion, no one is afraid to communicate, we can talk about how we can do a better job of how we communicate. But if we're trying to shut down communication, we're failing. And in an organization like a trading company where everything is about communication, if we have environments where communication gets shut down, it is a real problem. I think we do a good job of going out of our way to make sure communication is strong. Yes, it's positive communication, but sometimes you need to be comfortable communicating the tough stuff too. And it needs to go both ways. And I think we do a really good job of that here.
Thank you for sharing that piece of how you communicate and the importance of the 2-way street of having the methods to get the information out and get that vision out, but also we'll call it culture and environment to receive it back. And what difference has it made? I think you kind of answered that question, and that's in the retention of your team. They want to be a part of what you're doing and choose to be a part of that. Kudos to you for creating a culture that people want to be a part of and want to stick around for. And that's reflective of exactly what you said, your leadership quote. It's a reflection of those that follow more than the leader themselves. What strikes me the most about this conversation, Ted, is you say the words, but the examples you shared show that they're just not words. They are truly part of how you do things within the company. And these are great business lessons, great leadership lessons, and just very, very thankful for your willingness to share those things. And leadership is a top-down thing, right? And so in a couple of minutes here to wrap up our conversation today, kind of rapid fire to you, the rest of my favorite questions to ask, the up level 5 questions, I think they continue to build on leadership and communication. We talked about that picture of success in depth, but for you, in 3 words, how do you want to show up each day as a leader?
So I'm going to start by saying things like integrity and honesty, those aren't each day things, those are everyday things. So when you ask me, how do I want to show up, integrity and honesty are the given. And I want to show up energetic, focused, and prepared for every day.
I love that. And I can tell. You've brought it today. Okay, and next question. What are the words you've lived by? You have dropped some great little nuggets of wisdom, and I'm guessing you've got at least one more.
It's a variation of some of the things we've already talked about, but I would say it's let it be known that I've surrounded myself with people better than I think it's Andrew Carnegie, I believe he's the first person who said that.
And we've talked about you as a leader, but Who are the leaders that you look toward? Who are some of the thought leaders that you follow?
Ironically, this was a hard question when I saw that on your list. A couple of thought leaders who I'd follow that are publicly known would be Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase. I think he's one of the best leaders that you can find. A lot of his thoughts and comments about not only leadership, but the economy, about how he focuses strategy for his organization have always really impressed me. And then when it comes to economics, obviously we're a company that spends a lot of time thinking about and talking about markets. The macroeconomist that I tend to listen to more than anybody else is a guy by the name of Alan Bolio from ITR Economics. Probably not well known to everybody, but there's a group of people out there who know exactly who I'm talking about and understand why. I found he does a really good job of explaining and defining how he thinks the economy is going to evolve, not just in the next 6 months and 12 months, but even at a 5, 10, and even 20-year period. When I think about thought leaders, I tend to think about the people on my team. I tend to be very specific. If I need expertise in this area, I'll go to the person who I think has the strongest expertise in that area. I'll go to my head of trading strategy and risk management when I really need to have a conversation about what the best approach is to a certain risk management issue. If it's the cheese market, I'll go to the head of my cheese group. If it's the powder or dairy market, the head of my dairy ingredients group. My brother Gus and his fluid team, not only am I not afraid, but they are thought leaders. We've hired people in this organization who are subject matter experts in these places, and I'm not afraid to go to them.
And you don't have to go far. They're already on your team. It seems like leadership is a topic that you've spent a lot of time developing and building your knowledge on. Do you have a favorite book recommendation? Who have you learned some good leadership from?
Yes, I've read a lot of books on leadership. When you read enough of them, you will find that there are a lot of overlapping similar themes. They all approach it a little differently. They all end up saying a lot of the same thing, which is hire great people, make sure they know what success looks like, make sure they have good training, make sure they have the resources, make sure you're communicating clearly, and then just get the hell out of their way. The books over the years that I've liked, The 1 Minute Manager, a book that teaches you how to communicate with your direct reports. It's phenomenal. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is a really great book. Jim Collins' Good to Great is a fantastic book. I actually found many, many, many years ago, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People to be really good. And it actually is really good on teaching you how to communicate with people. Seek to understand before being understood, things like that. Those are the books that really stand out to me.
That's a great list. Thank you for that. And when are you writing yours?
No, thank you.
Well, I think you could.
All I'm going to end up doing is regurgitating things other people have already said.
Sometimes when you hear it in a different voice, you receive it differently, right? Go back to communication. One last question for you today, Ted. What's your next up level? What's the area of your life, whether it's personally, professionally, that you're working on taking to the next level?
Professionally, it's continuing to improve our ability to communicate within our organization and develop a clarity of success. If a company is growing, that means a company is dynamic, which means the definition of success must evolve as well. So that's the way I would describe it professionally. We talk about our strengths and weaknesses. I may be pretty good at communicating. One of my strengths is adaptability, being able to understand how to adapt to changing situations. One of my biggest weaknesses is structure. Is creating habitual structure that can help lead to success. And so personally, just focusing on making sure there's the proper blend of adaptability and structure within the organization, that people have dependability in what their roles are, that also leads to success, as well as being prepared for the adaptability that comes with an organization that must be willing at all times to adapt to our customers' needs. Personally, my mother passed away recently. I feel blessed that at the age of 55, she was the first person really close to me in my life to pass away. It makes you reflect on your life and making sure you're around for your children and grandchildren. Living a healthier life, losing a little bit of weight, getting myself in better shape, making sure that I'm heart healthy and all of that fun stuff would be personally what I'm doing.
So lots of whey protein.
Yeah, actually.
So many of these little pieces and parts relate. And so often we talk about the why. Your why is very strong and compelling. Sorry to hear about the loss of your mother, but that's become your why and a drive for change and to make sure that you're there for your future, your family, and for the employees that are very near and dear to your heart and to the success of the business. And the success of your business means the success of the dairy farmers that I serve through Up Level Dairy too. So I tell you, Ted, it has been so fun and so insightful to tap into your brain from the business perspective and from the personal perspective as well. As we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to share?
I would just tell dairy farmers, the future's bright. We're all going to have our challenges, but when I think about the future of the U.S. dairy industry, I'm excited for it. I think the future's bright for the U.S. dairy industry. I'm really looking forward to the next 20 years. And Peggy, to you, I just want to say thank you. It's been an honor, a privilege to be with you today. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. It goes both ways. Much more of an honor on my end. Thank you so much, Ted. You just heard from Ted Jacoby from TC Jacoby right here on the Up Level Dairy Podcast. If you want to hear more from Ted, head back to our previous episode with a link in the show notes to hear more of his insights into 35 years of marketing experience in the dairy product industry. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and thanks for listening to the Up Level Dairy Podcast.